The Tunguska Event, a cosmic explosion with no cause. Imagine a quiet morning in the Siberian wilderness where the air is still and the forest stretches endlessly under a pale June sky. It's June 30th, 1908, near the Tunguska River, when suddenly the heavens erupt in a blinding flash. A fireball brighter than the sun tears through the atmosphere, unleashing a cataclysmic explosion that flattens 2,000 square kilometers of forest with the force of 1,000 Hiroshima bombs. Trees are incinerated, wildlife vaporized, and shockwaves ripple across the globe, felt as far away as England. Yet when the dust settles, there's no crater, no fragments, no explanation, just a mystery that has baffled the world for over a century. Welcome to Legends Unveiled, where we unravel the deepest enigmas of history. Tonight, we journey to the heart of Siberia to uncover the chilling truth of the Tunguska Event, a cosmic explosion with no cause, a riddle that defies science and whispers of the unknown. Scene 2. The day of the explosion, eyewitnesses speak. At around 7:14 a.m. local time, the remote Tunguska region was a sparsely populated expanse, home to the indigenous Evenki people who lived as reindeer herders in harmony with the land. That morning, the sky was clear, and the Evenki were tending to their herds when a searing light split the heavens, followed by a deafening roar that echoed like the end of the world. Semyon Semyonov, a local farmer 60 kilometers away, was sitting on his porch when he saw a column of blue light streak across the sky, brighter than the sun, before a wave of heat scorched his skin, nearly setting his shirt ablaze. He described the sound as if the earth itself had shattered, knocking him off his chair. Another Evenki man, Chuchan, was thrown from his tent by the shockwave, watching in horror as his reindeer herd stampeded in panic, some bursting into flames from the heat. Windows shattered in villages hundreds of kilometers away, and the ground trembled like an earthquake felt as far as Central Asia. That night, the skies over Europe glowed with an eerie light, so bright that people in London could read newspapers at midnight, a phenomenon called noctilucent clouds, caused by dust thrown into the atmosphere. But what could unleash such devastation with no trace of its origin? Scene 3. The aftermath of forest in ruins. When the fires died down, the Tunguska region was a wasteland of destruction. Over 80 million trees lay flattened in a radial pattern, pointing away from a central blast point as if a giant hand had swept them aside. The epicenter, near the Podkamanaya Tunguska River, was a desolate scar. Trees at the very center stood stripped of branches, charred black, while the surrounding forest was obliterated across an area the size of a small country. The Evenki people spoke of a fire god descending from the sky, a wrathful spirit that scorched the earth. Yet despite the scale of the explosion, estimated at 10-15 megatons of TNT, there was no crater, no debris, no signs of what caused it. The remote location meant no immediate investigation. Russia was in political turmoil, on the brink of revolution, and the area was nearly inaccessible. For years, the Tunguska Event remained a whisper among locals, a terrifying legend of a day the sky turned to fire, until science finally turned its gaze to Siberia. Scene 4. The first expedition, Kulik's quest for answers. It wasn't until 1927, nearly 2 decades later, that the first scientific expedition reached Tunguska, led by Russian mineralogist Leonid Kulik. Kulik, a determined and curious scientist working for the Soviet Academy of Sciences, had heard stories of the explosion and was convinced a massive meteorite had struck the Earth, leaving behind a crater filled with valuable metals. Funded by the Soviet government, he trekked through the harsh Siberian wilderness battling swamps, mosquitoes, and freezing temperatures to reach the blast site. What he found stunned him. There was no crater, only the eerie expanse of flattened trees, stretching as far as the eye could see. Kulik interviewed Evenki survivors, who recounted the blinding light and the thunderous roar, some still trembling as they spoke of the fire god. He collected soil samples, hoping to find meteorite fragments, but returned empty-handed. Kulik led several more expeditions in the 1930s, digging trenches and draining swamps, driven by his belief that a meteorite lay buried beneath the permafrost. But the mystery only deepened. No fragments, no answers, just the haunting silence of Tunguska. Scene 5. The Meteor Theory, a scientific breakthrough. By the 1940s, scientists began to piece together a leading theory. The Tunguska Event was likely caused by a meteor or comet that exploded in the atmosphere, an airburst that never reached the ground. This explained the lack of a crater and debris, as the object would have disintegrated high above the Earth, releasing its energy in a massive fireball. The radial pattern of fallen trees and the absence of fragments supported this idea, and later studies estimated the object was 5,100 meters wide, traveling at 54,000 kilometers per hour before it detonated 5-10 kilometers above the surface. In the 1990s, Italian physicist Giuseppe Longo found microscopic particles in tree resin at the site, silicates and iron, suggesting they were remnants of a stony asteroid. Computer models in the 2000s further confirmed that an airburst of this size could produce the observed devastation, matching eyewitness accounts of a fireball and shockwave. But if it was a meteor, why were there no larger fragments? And why did some witnesses describe a cylindrical object, not a typical meteor shape? The meteor theory, while plausible, left lingering questions that fueled wilder speculations. Scene 6. The Tesla Connection, a mad scientist's experiment. As the meteor theory gained traction, a more bizarre idea emerged. Could the Tunguska event have been caused by Nikola Tesla, the eccentric genius known for his groundbreaking experiments with electricity? In 1908, Tesla was working on his Wardenclyffe Tower in New York, a project he claimed could transmit wireless energy across the globe. Some conspiracy theorists argue that Tesla, frustrated by lack of funding, decided to test his death ray, a directed energy weapon, by firing a beam of energy into the ionosphere, accidentally targeting Siberia. The timing aligns. Tesla was in financial distress, and he reportedly told friends he could split the Earth like an apple. Proponents point to the lack of a crater and the cylindrical object described by witnesses, suggesting an energy burst rather than a meteor. However, there's no evidence Tesla had the technology to produce such a massive explosion, and his tower was never completed. Still, the idea of a mad scientist unleashing chaos on a remote forest captures the imagination, blending science with the unknown in a way that keeps the Tunguska mystery alive. Scene 7. Cosmic Theories, Aliens and Black Holes. Beyond Tesla, other cosmic theories have emerged, each more outlandish than the last. In the 1970s, Soviet scientists proposed that a tiny black hole passed through the Earth at Tunguska, entering in Siberia and exiting in the North Atlantic, causing the explosion as it tore through the atmosphere. This would explain the lack of debris, but there's no evidence of an exit event, and modern physics deems the theory unlikely. Another idea came from science fiction writer Alexander Kazantsev, who suggested an alien spacecraft exploded over Tunguska, perhaps malfunctioning as it attempted to land or detonate a weapon. This theory gained traction due to the radiation traces found in soil samples in the 1960s, though later studies attributed them to natural background levels. Some even speculate that the spacecraft was trying to send a message or a warning to humanity, using the remote Siberian wilderness to avoid mass casualties. These cosmic theories, while far-fetched, highlight the Tunguska Event's strangest aspect, its ability to defy all logical explanations, leaving room for the wildest of imaginations. Scene 8. Natural explanations, methane, and earthly forces. Not all theories point to the stars. Some look closer to home. In 2007, Russian geologist Vladimir Epifanov proposed that a massive release of methane gas from the permafrost, ignited by lightning, could have caused the explosion. Siberia's frozen ground is rich in methane, and a sudden release could produce a fireball and shockwave, though the scale of Tunguska's blast makes this theory a stretch. Another idea suggests a volcanic event or tectonic activity, but the region showed no signs of such forces. These earthly explanations aim to ground the mystery in science, but they struggle to account for the eyewitness reports of a fireball descending from the sky, pushing most researchers back to the meteor airburst theory, yet even that leaves gaps that science can't fill. Scene 9. The Legacy, a mystery that endures. Today, the Tunguska Event remains one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries, a testament to the limits of human understanding. The site, now a protected nature reserve, still bears the scars of 1908, charred trees, and a haunting silence that unnerves visitors. Modern expeditions continue to search for clues, using drones and satellites to scan the forest, but the answers remain elusive. The event inspired science fiction, like the 1947 novel The Explosion by Alexander Kazantsev, and even influenced Cold War fears of nuclear annihilation, as scientists studied Tunguska to understand atmospheric explosions. It also serves as a warning. If a similar event happened today over a populated area, the devastation would be catastrophic, a reminder of how vulnerable we are to the cosmos. Scene 10. Conclusion, a cosmic riddle. Unanswered. Over 116 years have passed since the Tunguska Event turned a Siberian forest into a wasteland, but its secrets remain locked in the scorched earth, and the stories of those who witnessed the sky ignite. Was it a meteor airburst, a natural explosion gone wrong, or something far stranger, a black hole, an alien craft, or a mad scientist's deadly experiment? The lack of evidence leaves us with more questions than answers, a cosmic riddle that challenges everything we know about our universe. Perhaps the truth lies beyond our grasp, a whisper from the stars that we're not yet ready to hear. What do you think caused the Tunguska Event? Was it a freak act of nature or a sign of something greater? Drop your theory in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more journeys into the unknown right here on Legends Unveiled.